Time for Ask the Mayor on KWBE with Beatrice Mayor Bob Morgan. Good morning, Bob. How are you today?
Good.
Good
Kind of a
Yeah.
nice morning, you know.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday was quite the breezy day, and
Yeah.
Wednesday wasn't so bad, and looks like we're off to a good start today.
Had some good temperatures yesterday, mid-70s. Kind of gave us a break from the high humidity, but it'll warm up again here. And
It will.
I know a lot of the country is really in scorching heat. People that don't normally get it, like far northeastern U.S. And
Right.
Kind of different for early in the year.
They're not used to it like we are.
Yeah, and I think, is this the first official day of summer? I think it is.
Could very well be.
If I remember right, I think. So we got July and August to go yet.
Yes, we do.
We'll love hot weather by then, I'm sure. But we did get a couple of questions past few days, so I thought we'd start off the top with that. One of them, and I think you did discuss this a little bit Monday night on a topic we're going to discuss here just shortly. The caller wonders what will be done with the playground equipment that is at the elementary school sites that no longer will be used, and is any of that equipment auctioned? Is it placed in storage? What happens to it?
Well, a lot of that's going to be determined when we take a look at it. Mm-hmm. As far as put it into service in any other park for the city, it's been there long enough that it is not ADA compliant. And secondly, we don't know what kind of shape it's going to be when we take it down. Mm-hmm. It's been there for a number of years. Last thing we're going to do is sell something that we know or have a fear of not being sturdy and in good shape. So a lot of the things that come out from the schools, we're just going to have to really take a look and see what we have, because we won't probably take possession until November. Probably not a great time to analyze the playground equipment, but as far as the city goes, we really can't reuse that because it's changed. One of the things that I think is on the list here is we put in for funding for some parks and equipment, because equipment now needs to not only meet ADA compliancy, but also the whole area does. And so it does give people access that didn't have access before. And, with those playground equipment there, certainly has been in service for a long time.
Yeah.
So we don't know what the life expectancy, if any, is left in it.
Long ago when I was in school, all I remember was the metal swing set, the metal slide, and the monkey bars, and that stuff doesn't work anymore. You can't even install that anymore under rules.
I know. Things have definitely changed, haven't they?
Yeah, they have for sure. So, and it has to be ADA compliant, and there's a safety aspect to it. Less metal today, more plastic.
Right.
Less sharp edges, things like that.
Yep.
That we put up with, and
we
didn't think twice about it.
Have improved safety for everybody.
Yeah. The other question is, and this is more of a larger one for like public park areas, caller was wondering, is the use of tobacco or vaping products legal in city parks? Is that treated maybe the same way as no smoking, no vaping inside a public building? How does the city treat that, or is there even a rule for it in public parks?
I'll have to, first of all, look, but there's a significant difference between indoor and outdoors. Mm-hmm. And, I know typically, in the schools and whatnot, when you have a smoke-free facility, there's usually a designated smoking area from the inside out, which has to be 10 feet away from the doors. But I'm not sure there's any requirements in the outdoor spaces. I think that is something that, it's pretty wide open, and, it's probably something that we'll I'll at least research, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's many restrictions about outdoor use of vaping or smoking.
Wonder how much it has to do with an outdoors. You're really not in a confined area. You have the ability to move. So
correct.
If somebody is smoking or vaping near you, in most cases, you have a opportunity to avoid it, I guess.
That's true. And so, again, I don't think there's any rules there, but we'll sure take a look and see if there are. Again, it kind of falls into people's rights, and being a non-smoker, I get it, but on the other side of the coin, I don't think there's any restrictions.
Yeah. Might be a question for Taylor Rivera, the
I think it is.
attorney. Maybe I'll ask him about that, get the lowdown on it.
There you go.
We can mention it on a future program or something. So.
I think that's a good idea.
All righty. The big thing on Monday night at the city council meeting was looking at the concepts provided by JEO Consulting regarding the two school sites at Paddock Lane and Lincoln Elementary, master plan concepts there for residential development. You look at both of those sites, and there's significant amount of ground there once those buildings are demolished, and you try to visualize when the buildings are taken out of there. You're looking at a pretty good size footprint there.
You are. I think between the two sites, I think we were looking at 48 homes maybe. That's a pretty significant area.
Yeah. The buildings themselves are yet to be demolished. That takes place, late in the year likely? Or
the timeline for us is we take over the properties 90 days after the school's out, and so or out of the building, and so we don't know 100% sure when they're going to be completely out of the building and have moved everything they need to, and when that clock starts. So right now we're estimating that to be in November. Again, we'll take a look at what the climate is for bids and the weather for November, December. We're hoping that by summer we'll have the sites completely cleaned off, and those two sites completely cleaned off, and try to see how we can move forward with two residential housing development areas.
What did you think about the concept? So you talked about a little bit last week that you got kind of an early look at it, but after a more kind of detailed look with the rest of the council, what did you think?
I think the JEO and the concept that they presented was excellent. I think it took into fact that you don't want to dump a bunch of cars out on a very busy street. And so that's why you're seeing the concept with cul-de-sacs and the access that they have there. And I think the other thing, at least in my opinion, I think if you look at a lot of housing developments in other communities that are up to date, we've eliminated a lot of just rows of houses and given the neighborhoods the opportunity to have what I would say maybe a little more character. So it doesn't look like it's just a cookie cutter development, and so I like it. I think it a lot of pluses, and I think it just brings some character that we can then apply other places as we continue to develop housing, and we need housing in the city of Beatrice.
It was mentioned that I think the target kind of size for each single family home was somewhere around 1,400 square feet. Would that be for both sites, or is that just kind of an average of what they would be?
That's an average. If you look at the lots, they all have different sizes, and so it'll depend on the lot. It'll depend on the contractor, but yeah, we're looking in that 1,300 to 1,500 square foot home. And when you think about that, I think the other thing that we kept in mind is those homes also fit into the neighborhood as they now exist, and so I think it's a great place to be. I think as we've researched it and talked to real estate and developers, that's kind of the sweet spot of developing some good mid-range homes for people to buy.
Going back to that, trying to reduce the number of entrances onto current streets from these developments, the interesting thing about it was, too, is that the concepts paid attention to pedestrian access kind of in between, which is something maybe a few years ago you didn't think as much about, but there's more emphasis today on bike traffic, pedestrian traffic, access by foot.
Absolutely, yeah. We took a look at that. We actually took a look at the sites and where both sites sit. One of the things that we probably realize is that on Lincoln, we might have to put some type of a neighborhood park in. When you look at Paddock, you're 3 blocks away from Astro Splash Pad and Astro Park, where Saratoga and the city are going together to do some improvements there. And so I think we took a look at maybe some recreational opportunities as well as the development of the sites for housing.
The other thing is stormwater detention. That's a thing that, is more of a modern concept today that maybe you didn't think about. But every time you do a development and you replace greenery with hard surface, you're changing the runoff of the water.
And we have to pay attention and how we have to put a plan together of how we're going to handle the runoff. And as you saw on both properties, they have, I think, really almost a new type of concept. They have detention, so they're either retention or detention. Yeah. Retention holds the water, detention, basically the water evaporates, and then that green space becomes available for other recreational opportunities. So both of them have detention cells that will displace or will collect all the water that's displaced due to all the, the homes and the paving.
Yeah. Is that similar to the test kind of detention area down by Gage County Foundation Park?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. The other question or the other issue that kind of came up Monday night was who is kind of the overall developer of the project? And should that be the city, or should that be in private hands developing that? What's your take on that, or your position? What do you tend to favor there?
I don't know if I really have a favor.
Yeah.
I think, first of all, we'll take a look and see if there's any developers that do want to develop the properties.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do, then we'll negotiate, as far as how and quickly the sites get developed. Right now, it's hard to find developers that would bite off something as big as this project. But at least we have a map of what we want the developer to do. At the end of the day, though, if we can't find someone, I think it's important to have housing in Beatrice, and then the city will take a look at being the developer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think both will work. I think one of the concepts that was talked about a little bit is the one thing what we don't want to have happen is somebody buy up all the properties and then not develop it in a timely manner.
Yeah.
And so we do have to figure out how to make sure that we don't just sell the property and then have it sit for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's really not the idea of this. The idea of this is to get the housing going.
And of course, making it look more like a modern development rather than row houses.
Correct.
And things back to that, because there are areas of town where that hasn't really worked out as well as maybe thought.
That's right.
In past years, anyway. There was one other. The question on overall development of both sites. How long are we talking? Do you think? How many years before, say, each site would be finished? You'd see the end product. I know that's tough to judge. But,
that's a tough question.
But is there a goal out there, kind of a range you're looking at that you'd like to see it done?
Well, certainly optimistically, it'd be nice to be, have the lot sold and built on and finished off in the 5 to 7 year time frame.
Yeah.
That depends a little bit on the number of builders that we have. It also depends on interest rates, and it also depends on suppliers and those type of things, as well as the economy. So, I would love to see it in 5 to 7 years.
Yeah. A couple more questions on the Lincoln site there.
Okay.
One thing I thought was kind of a neat concept is extending Grant Street into that development, and then it curves around to hook into Lincoln Street. Thereby you kind of control. You have two separate accesses there, and again, you're not having a driveway connect with every street around there.
Right. One of the things that we have, I don't know whether we learned or we experienced, 13th Street, perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
That street, the whole street needed to be refinished. Well, if you look at Country Club Estates back there, that development area there only has one way in and one way out. Mm-hmm. And so, that hampers how do you do a project. And I think Tiemann's have done a really good job of handling that issue. But I think we really want to make sure that as we develop, planned areas, there's more than one way in and more than one way out.
Yeah. I noticed you guys are really careful that at 19th and Lincoln, the concept shows a roundabout, and you're saying, no, not necessarily. There's also other options, I guess, for that intersection, if necessary.
Yeah, if necessary. We don't know what the traffic is going to be.
Yeah.
That's one of those things we'll track and study when the elementary school's done. But one of the things you do as you plan is you plan for several options, because what can happen is you say, oh, no, we're not going to put a roundabout in. And then what happens is you decide that's the best avenue, and if you've sold off part of the land, then you got to go back and buy it. And so that's drawn in there as one of the options at that intersection. And quite honestly, I don't think until the school's been up and running and until we see what the traffic pattern is on there and we see that Lincoln School is not there, I don't think we're going to know what we need at that intersection, if anything. Right now it's got a light. Maybe that light stays. I don't know. I think it'll be one of those things that the traffic committee and we'll study to see how we continue to make traffic flow smoothly through there.
The public gets a chance to weigh in at this on July 8th at the Beatrice Public Library. Another one of those open house events, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m., where you can come and go and offer your input, take a look at the concepts.
Absolutely.
So,
and we hope people will, especially from the neighborhoods, come out and take a look at the concepts. And I believe JEO will be there, so they'll be the people you want to give your ideas to, because they're the ones that'll go back and see how those suggestions will work or won't work into the plan.
Yeah. Before we take a quick break here, I should note that 6th and Lincoln back open. The water work there, that opened this week, so that's back to normal. And I think there was still some markers up at 7th and Lincoln, some work yet to be done there, but that's coming along, though.
Right. I mean, there's still some work to be done.
Yeah.
But again, we have a wonderful celebration coming up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so we want to make sure that we have traffic flows that are good and safe for the community.
Street Department's been doing a lot of line painting downtown, too, and around the areas to make that look better. And,
they do. Yeah.
I know they do that about this time of year. And I even heard the mosquito truck out last night in my neighborhood, I think. So I think they're probably doing some of that, too.
Right.
In advance of the celebration. So.
Yep.
Back with more on Ask the Mayor in just a moment. Back on Ask the Mayor with Mayor Bob Morgan today. We did get a question, but I think it's more for the school district, so we'll kind of pass on this one. But I'll read it anyway. It says someone wanted to know about the interior furniture in the current elementary buildings. What are they doing with that for the school? My impression is that is not going to be used in the new school buildings. Maybe some of it, if it's usable, but I think it doesn't make a lot of sense to build a new building and then fit it with old furniture, but that's up for the district.
So that's up to the district. What they do with the fixtures and the furniture that's in the buildings is really their decision and not ours.
That's right. Okay. South 13th update. I haven't been out there a lot lately because I've been wanting to get my golf clubs in my hand, but haven't been able to do so lately. So what's it look like lately?
I think they're closing in. They're doing a real good job and coming up, finishing that project. I think, I know there's a cement truck there a couple days ago, and once you do that, you need to at least have the concrete cured, but they're moving right along, and quite honestly, they've had to battle a little bit of weather.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think they're doing pretty well. Both
lanes were poured, maybe the entrances to the residences there, maybe some of the last work to be done.
Some of the last work there, but overall, they're closing in on that project.
Yeah. Well, it is Homestead Days, and I know a lot of volunteer support and Chamber of Commerce heavily involved in that, but there's a city component, too, as far as what you do as helping out in areas where services are needed.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of little things that come up, and where events are that need electricity, we got to figure out how to help them get the electricity there. But you also just got the maintenance and taking care of trash and roads. I mean, think about Saturday with the parade. Our guys will be out, blocking off streets and directing traffic and really supporting as we can the chamber on a great event.
Making the parks look good, too. All the mowing that needs to be done because, Chautauqua Park gets heavily used. I know during the celebration with the car show and the vendors and everything down there and the flea market. So,
Yep. It gives us a chance to really make sure some of the small projects that we have to do every year, why not do them right before Homestead Days? Kind of like, again, the traffic. You'll see they've seen where we painted a lot of stripes in downtown, or reinvigorated that painting, and why not do it and make our town look really good with all the guests that are coming in, or instead of waiting until August.
That's right. Annexations Monday night gave final approval to annexing the cemetery property at the east edge of Beatrice and also some land on West Belvedere. Do you foresee any other potential annexations in the coming year or two, or are you pretty much status quo for now?
Well, we'll always take a look at that. I think right now we have to look at what properties that may touch the city, may not, and take a look at, are they platted, are they not platted, and take a look at what maybe future plans are. Right now we don't have anything on our radar screen, but we will continue to always look and see what we need to do in that arena.
Monday night, toward the end of the meeting, I think Tobias Templemeyer, your city administrator, mentioned you have some paving work going on, or to go on in, Chautauqua Park, the Park Road there, eventually?
Eventually, yes. We actually did asphalt out by the landfill in preparation of the new cell we're going to develop there. They're already in town. One of the things we want to do is do some resurfacing through Chautauqua Park. We were hoping to get that done the first couple of days of this week. However, that wasn't going to work for the contractor, so we put that off. I don't think we want to have
during the celebration.
During our celebration, we really don't want to have Chautauqua Park roads closed and unavailable for traffic. So, yes, but we're looking at how we can get back to that and resurface the roads through Chautauqua Park.
Yeah. Should point out for celebration goers, of course, people in town maybe know about it, but maybe visitors don't. Take a look at the new waterfall at Chautauqua Park. That's quite a success story there.
It is. I think that project turned out really, really well, and it was a great partnership with the Friends of the Falls, Exmark, Gage County Foundation. I think the contractor did a great job of holding his price so we could get it done. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the day, drive through there. It really looks nice.
When you undertake a project like that, there's a tendency for some to think, well, that's not really in the bailiwick of a city government. That's a want and not a need. But when you combine private support, public support, make it more palatable for everybody, and then you end up with a great feature.
That's
for
right.
the city. So it's kind of neat. So.
Yeah, it is.
We'll take another quick break here and then wrap up Ask the Mayor for this Thursday in just a moment. We're back on Ask the Mayor to wrap up things today. I have about 5-6 minutes left. A couple of things to touch on before we conclude today. I understand construction begins on Monday on the first phase of the Lincoln Street work, which is associated with the new school site by there. And that section is, east of the church toward the intersection.
Correct.
Right. So.
And it'll include the roundabout.
I see.
Yeah, it's they've kind of done the phasing a little bit different, and when they get going, they want to just run all the way from just east of Christ Community and go right in through that intersection.
Yeah, that part of it, that first phase, is that expected to be done fairly quickly? I mean, even before, say, the school year starts, or how do you? I'm not really sure if it is or not.
I think they hope to get through it by Labor Day.
I see.
So it may not be exactly done when the school opens.
So the second phase would likely start yet this year, but then you'd get into whether or not winter arrives early or it delays its arrival, I guess.
The contractor said in a perfect world, and that means weather and everything else. And they actually wanted to start last Monday, but Black Hills Energy had some gas lines that needed to get moved, so we're kind of missed 1 week there already. But in a perfect world, they were hoping to get done by the 23rd of December.
I see.
With everything.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd love that to happen, but it might have to kind of carry over into the next spring. We don't know. We'll just, Mother Nature is in control.
Yeah, and weather has been, I got the chance to tour the inside of the new school with Superintendent Alexander the other day. It really looks impressive. It's kind of the outside that, the weather-dependent part, all the planting and seeding and things, has been kind of hit and miss because we keep getting these 1/3 or half-inch rains or 1 inch, and it starts to dry out, and then here comes another one. So that's kind of the difficulty right now. That might affect the first phase of the street project.
Yeah,
too.
Really. Now, typically July, August are pretty hot and dry months. But
typically.
That's typically. So so we'll see. I mean, I would be really, really happy if we got done by December 23rd. But again, that's kind of I'd say as a wish that everybody wants to see happen. And if it happens, it happens. If not, we'll continue on the other way.
I did see the location where the masons will be laying the cornerstone on the school building inside. It's just kind of inside that main entrance on the north side, and then you walk a little bit to the right, and it's right there. And I know I think that's coming up in late July or something, so that'll be a neat
correct.
ceremony there.
It's one of those things the masons do on major projects. They did it at the fire station,
That's right.
and we were greatly appreciated there, and so I'm sure the school's very appreciated for what the masons are going to do there.
Okay. One last item, maybe just to touch on a little bit, and I just saw this on your city Facebook page, is that the improvements at Hannibal Park on the parking lot thing, you're taking bids on that, and I think the deadline's coming up on the 20th today. Looking at the calendar.
That would be today,
If you're going to put in a bid, you're probably late unless you can scrap it together really fast.
Depends on if it's due at 10 or 2.
Yeah, really. Do you think you'll get a lot of interest in it, or have you received, do you know if you've received any so
Don't know
far?
if we received any. We hold those until bid opening, so I don't know what that looks like. I think one of the things that, when we went through the naming rights fundraising opportunity at Hannibal Park that afforded us to be able to do that project because we have those funds available. And, you know, I think if you go out there in the summer when it's really busy, you see that you really do need more parking.
Yeah.
And so I think once that parking is developed and finished, then we'll take a look at what the next steps are out there.
Isn't the where the parking is right now, isn't another field supposed to be put in there? That's kind of the general concept.
That's the general concept.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. What, just out of curiosity, and I don't recall, do you remember what you ended up with on the naming rights? You were working with a consulting firm out of, I think, the Des Moines, Iowa area.
Right.
On kind of recruiting that, and it took off like crazy right from the gun. But,
it did.
400,000, is that right?
I was saying
$350,000?
$350,000 to $400,000,
Yeah.
which
So-
gives us an opportunity to do a lot of nice projects.
Yeah, it does. Okay.
And one of the things that was just like everything else, Hannibal Park has a master plan.
Yeah.
And so we'll work the plan with the money that we have.
Yeah. And I think in the not too distant future, you might find out on a big federal grant, isn't
Oh.
it? In late June or something? Or
I think June 30, we're supposed to maybe find out about the RAISE grant.
Yeah.
So, you know, fingers crossed to
Yeah.
see where we end up.
And if it doesn't come, you just go on to the next source or another application, or
Either another application
Yeah.
or, you know, regroup, see what the next steps are.
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much for being in with us again, Bob.
Doug, thanks.
You bet.